In an era where AI can clone voices with chilling precision, two teenage masterminds took full advantage, scamming millions from businesses and families. One convinced a CEO's right-hand man to wire nearly $250,000. The other faked a kidnapping using AI-generated screams for ransom. But here's the terrifying part. They didn't need a gun, a mask, or even a fake identity. Just a laptop and a deepfake voice. How did they do it? And could you be their next victim? Let's unravel the shocking true story of the real-life Catch Me If You Can. But with AI. It was late on a quiet Friday evening when Jennifer DeStefano's phone rang. But the voice on the other end wasn't the one she recognized. It was Brianna's, or at least it sounded exactly like her daughter's voice, frantic, desperate, and pleading for help.
Mom, please help me.
The voice was trembling with panic, raw and unnerving. Jennifer's heart sank.
They've got me, Mom. They're going to hurt me if you don't pay. Please, please help.
The call was sudden, shattering the calm of the night like a crash of glass. Jennifer's mind raced, torn between disbelief and terror. Could it be a cruel prank? A nightmare? But the urgency in Brianna's voice felt too real, too visceral. This wasn't her daughter's usual tone. This was fear, the kind that cuts straight to the bone.
Mom, they're going to kill me if you don't send the money. I don't know where I am. I'm scared, Mom. Please, I need you.
The words blurred into panic-stricken sobs, each one making Jennifer's stomach tighten in a knot. And then, in an instant, she was faced with an impossible choice, one that would change her life forever. In the seconds that followed, Jennifer's world started to tilt. The shock of hearing Brianna, no, it had to be Brianna, pleading for her life paralyzed her. She couldn't think straight. The only thing that mattered was getting her daughter back. The scammer, however, wasn't finished. No, this was only the beginning. "If you want to see her alive again," the voice demanded, "you need to transfer $1 million. No questions asked." Jennifer was frozen. $1 million? How could this be happening? Brianna had been on a skiing trip, but this voice on the line sounded just like her. And as the minutes passed, every second felt like an eternity, Jennifer's mind spinning with one horrible thought after another. But just as Jennifer was about to hang up and call for help, the voice on the other end, the one still eerily sounding like Brianna, said something that stopped her cold.
Mom, I know you're scared, but remember what you always told me when I was little. Don't ever trust the police.
It was a small, seemingly innocent phrase, but one that had stuck with Brianna throughout her childhood. Jennifer had said it so many times to her daughter. Don't trust the police. Trust your instincts. A rule, a lesson ingrained in them both. But hearing those words now, in that moment, felt like a gut punch. Was this a coincidence? Or was it confirmation that this was real? For a fleeting second, Jennifer's breath caught in her throat. Her heart pounded, and every nerve in her body screamed to do something, anything, but she couldn't move. She knew that voice. She knew those words. She'd told Brianna not to trust the police in case of emergencies, but she had never imagined it would be used against her like this. As she stood frozen, the voice on the phone took on a darker, more threatening tone. "If you hang up now, we'll know. Do you really want to risk her life?" The words felt like they were cutting through her, each one twisting the knife deeper. Jennifer was paralyzed, caught in a web of fear and confusion. Every instinct screamed at her to call the police, but the voice on the other end held her hostage. The longer she listened, the more she felt the walls close in around her. Was she about to make the biggest mistake of her life? Was this some twisted, calculated ploy? Or was it her daughter's final plea for help? As Jennifer moved to transfer the money, her mind raced with one question. What if she was too late? The scammer demanded that the money be sent immediately to an untraceable cryptocurrency wallet. The urgency in the voice was unrelenting, playing on Jennifer's deepest fears. She knew that if she waited even a second longer, it might be too late. Before Jennifer could complete the transaction, the call suddenly went silent for a brief moment, just long enough to give her a glimmer of doubt. She quickly dialed Brianna's cell phone. The line rang, but no one answered. Panicking, Jennifer sent text after text begging Brianna to call her back. Still no response. The silence was deafening, as though every moment stretched further into uncertainty. What was happening? The scammer called again, the voice now more demanding, angry even. "Why are you stalling? Don't waste time. You don't want to be the reason she dies." Jennifer could hear a muffled sound on the line, like Brianna was crying. The sound of a struggle, a door slamming. It all felt real. It was then that Jennifer made a critical mistake. She didn't think to call anyone for help. Instead, she panicked and tried to figure out a way to raise the money. In the haze of confusion, Jennifer contacted a close friend, someone who could help with the financials, pleading for a way to access the funds she needed immediately. But the longer the call dragged on, the more Jennifer felt something was wrong. Why hadn't Brianna answered her texts? Why hadn't anyone else received any strange calls or messages from Brianna? Why had this only happened to Jennifer? The answer came in a way that Jennifer never expected. She received an unexpected call from Brianna, who was laughing on the other end of the line.
Mom, what's going on? Why do you keep calling me? I'm fine. I'm on the ski trip with friends.
It took a moment for the truth to hit Jennifer like a ton of bricks. This entire ordeal had been a scam. The voice on the phone was not Brianna, at least not in the way Jennifer had thought. It was an AI-generated voice carefully crafted by a teenager who had cloned Brianna's voice from social media posts. The police soon traced the number back to Jake, a 15-year-old who had been using cutting-edge AI technology to create lifelike voices. Jake's tool was something that anyone could access online, an AI voice cloning program that could replicate a voice with chilling precision. It was this technology that allowed him to orchestrate a scam so convincing that Jennifer couldn't see through the lie until the very last moment. Jake, a teenager living in another state, wasn't an expert hacker. He didn't need to be. With a few clicks, he had turned technology into a weapon, targeting families and businesses with fake calls and stealing money from unsuspecting victims. Jake's success wasn't just in the scam itself, it was in how easily he could exploit the trust people had in their own ears. This wasn't just an impersonation. This was a perfect illusion, made possible by AI that could replicate voices so accurately, so emotionally, that they bypassed every defense Jennifer had. While Jake was arrested, the FBI quickly realized that this was just the beginning. As AI tools become more powerful and more accessible, a new generation of digital criminals would be born. People like Jake who used technology not just to steal, but to destroy trust itself. For Jennifer, the nightmare ended when she realized Brianna was safe. But the chilling reality that lingered was this: the scam she had fallen for was only a glimpse of what's coming. A digital storm is brewing, one where your voice, your identity, and your most personal moments can be stolen, twisted, and weaponized. And for every person who narrowly escapes, countless others will fall prey to a world where deception is more real than ever. So next time you pick up the phone, think twice. Is that the voice of your loved one? Or a perfect digital illusion designed to deceive? Because in a world where even our voices can be manipulated, nothing is as it seems. Trust your instincts before it's too late. What would you do if your own voice was stolen? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more shocking true crime stories. You won't want to miss what's coming next. It was supposed to be just another Monday at Peak Tech Solutions, a mid-sized tech company in downtown San Francisco. John Miller, the operations manager, sat at his desk, ready to tackle the usual mountain of emails and meetings. The office buzzed with the familiar hum of a new work week, the kind that felt ordinary, predictable, almost comforting. But nothing could have prepared John for the phone call that was about to shatter his routine and send him spiraling into a nightmare. The voice on the other end was as familiar as his own, calm, firm, authoritative. It was Richard Lawson, the CEO. John had worked alongside Richard for years. They had navigated tough decisions, shared victories, and even dealt with crisis situations. So, when Richard spoke, John trusted him. There was no room for doubt. "John," the voice said. But today it was different. There was an edge to it, strained, urgent. "I need your help. We have a situation." John sat up, immediately feeling the shift in tone. This wasn't a normal call. Richard, the man who had built the company from the ground up, was never rattled. But something was off now, and it was impossible to ignore. "Listen closely, John," the voice continued. "I need you to wire $243,000 to an account, immediately. I'll explain everything later. This is crucial for the company." Without thinking, John went straight to work. It was Richard, the CEO. It had to be. The request was unusual, yes, but nothing that would raise any major alarm. After all, John had followed Richard's lead countless times before. This was business. This was trust. And so, without a second thought, he processed the transfer, pushing down any lingering uncertainty. But was it really trust? Or was it something much more dangerous? Something John wouldn't realize until it was too late. The hours passed slowly, but John's unease only grew. His gut kept telling him something wasn't right. The CEO, Richard, was nowhere to be found. His calls went straight to voicemail and emails were left unanswered. John tried to shake off the feeling. It was probably nothing. After all, Richard was a busy man, constantly caught in meetings and travel. But the nagging discomfort wouldn't leave him. Then, just as the afternoon seemed to drag on, the phone rang again. John's heart skipped when he saw the caller ID. Richard Lawson. It was the same voice, calm and firm, but today it was laced with urgency, almost desperation. "John," Richard's voice came through, quick and clipped, "I need you to make another transfer. And this time, it needs to be fast. Don't confirm anything with anyone. Just get it done. We don't have time to waste." John's pulse quickened. The voice sounded just like Richard, but the tone, it was different. It was too rushed, too intense, and for the first time, a tiny spark of doubt flickered in his mind. But he couldn't stop now. Not after what had already happened. "Okay," John replied, trying to steady his voice. He forced himself to ignore the sinking feeling in his stomach. "I'll take care of it." He didn't waste any more time. The transfer was processed, but the unease remained, gnawing at him, unanswered. By the next morning, the anxiety gnawing at John was almost unbearable. He couldn't shake the unease that had been creeping in ever since those wire transfers. He had done what he thought was right, what he'd been told to do, but the nagging questions kept rising in the back of his mind. Was something wrong? John was called into an impromptu meeting with the real Richard Lawson, and the moment he stepped into the office, he could tell something was off. Richard's brow was furrowed, his usual calm replaced with confusion. "John," Richard said, his voice low but sharp, "I never asked for those transfers. I've been in back-to-back meetings all day. What are you talking about?" John's heart dropped. The words hit him like a punch to the gut. It couldn't be true. He had followed the orders without hesitation, trusted the voice on the phone without question. It had sounded just like Richard, but now, standing in front of his real boss, John's blood ran cold. His mind raced to process what had just been revealed. The voice he had been listening to, the one that had convinced him to transfer hundreds of thousands of dollars, wasn't Richard at all. It had been a digital copy, a deepfake, an AI-generated voice that was indistinguishable from the real thing. John's hands began to tremble, and a wave of nausea rolled through him. It wasn't just a mistake. He had been scammed by a machine that had tricked him into trusting a voice he thought he knew better than his own. The realization hit him like a cold shower. He hadn't just been fooled. He had been targeted by something far bigger than he could have imagined. And it was only just beginning. As the investigation into the fraudulent transfers gained momentum, the truth began to unravel in a way no one could have predicted. Authorities quickly traced the stolen funds back to an IP address in Fresno, California. What they discovered next sent shockwaves through the investigation. The hacker behind the sophisticated scam wasn't some shadowy figure lurking in the depths of the dark web. It was a 15-year-old boy named Ethan Parker. A teenager, just barely old enough to drive, had pulled off one of the most elaborate corporate frauds in recent memory. Ethan wasn't a mere prankster. He was a digital prodigy, armed with advanced AI tools that allowed him to clone voices with stunning precision. Using this technology, he had spent months impersonating CEOs, including PeakTech's own Richard Lawson, fooling employees into wiring large sums of money. The more investigators dug, the more chilling the picture became. Ethan had meticulously honed his skills, learning to manipulate AI-driven voice cloning software to such an extent that even the most seasoned professionals couldn't tell the difference between his voice and the real thing. He'd targeted multiple businesses, including PeakTech, exploiting their trust to execute a series of successful scams. Once the money was transferred, it vanished almost immediately into untraceable accounts, laundered through a maze of digital transactions. Ethan's ability to cover his tracks was as sophisticated as the scam itself. What made it even more disturbing was Ethan's age. A teenager, no older than a high school sophomore, had caused widespread financial damage, all from the comfort of his bedroom. In a world where digital deception was evolving faster than the laws could keep up, it became clear that no one, no matter their experience or status, was safe from the power of AI manipulation. As the full extent of Ethan Parker's scam emerged, the scale of his audacity sent ripples of shock throughout the business world. Authorities uncovered that the teenager hadn't just targeted PeakTech Solutions. He had launched a nationwide campaign, scamming businesses across the United States. Millions of dollars had vanished into Ethan's hands, all because of one simple weapon: his voice. The most unsettling part of the investigation? Ethan had used nothing more than widely available AI tools, many of which were free or low cost, to clone voices with eerie accuracy. He'd impersonated people he had never met: CEOs, department heads, and trusted employees. His targets, like John, had no reason to question the voice on the other end of the line. It sounded just like someone they knew, someone they trusted. The scam itself was disturbingly simple in execution. No physical presence, no face, just a voice, manipulated by AI to perfection. In an age where technology had advanced to the point that even seasoned professionals couldn't distinguish between the real and the fake, Ethan had found a way to exploit the trust placed in the most basic form of communication: the human voice. It was the perfect crime for the digital age, the kind of crime that no one had seen coming until it was too late. As news of Ethan Parker's arrest spread like wildfire, one truth became undeniable. The rules of crime had changed. No longer did criminals need masks, weapons, or physical threats. Now, all it took was a laptop, an internet connection, and the ability to exploit something as personal and as trusted as the human voice. For John, this revelation wasn't just unsettling, it was terrifying. He hadn't fallen for a phishing email or a crude scam. He had been tricked by his own instincts, his own ears. If even the sound of a familiar voice could be weaponized, what did that mean for the future? How could anyone be certain who or what they were really speaking to? Peak Tech Solutions scrambled to tighten security, implementing multi-factor authentication and AI-driven fraud detection. But John knew his company wasn't alone. How many others had been deceived? How many businesses, families, and individuals had unknowingly handed over their money, their trust, maybe even their lives, to a voice that wasn't real? The answer was chilling. This wasn't an isolated incident. This was the beginning of something much bigger. We live in an age where technology advances faster than our ability to control it, where deception is no longer a skill, it's an algorithm. Today, it was John. Tomorrow, it could be a Fortune 500 CEO, a government official, you. So ask yourself, if a voice can no longer be trusted, what happens to the truth? This is just the beginning. Stay ahead of the next deception. Stay aware. Subscribe to Darkly Wired before you become the next target. Bye for now, and see you in the next one.